Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tax Tip Tuesday. I'm trying to record on both TikTok and StreamYard, which goes to my Facebook, my YouTube, and my LinkedIn. So come on in, come on in, come on in. Happy Tax Tip Tuesday. I'm just going to jump on in because I am knee deep in taxes. So for the last couple of months, actually, so since August 1st, I've been talking about overlooked tax deductions that small business owners have or that I see common. The 10 are home office deductions, startup expenses, business use of your car, professional services and subscriptions, travel expenses, bad debt, continuing education, home internet and phone service, as well as charitable donations. I am going to dive in. So since August 1st, I've been covering each topic in detail. So if you've missed that, you follow us on our pages, you could go back and look at all of them. So today I'm just going to do like a recap. And the recap is going to just give you an idea of what these deductions are and what you could do with them. Okay. So home office deductions. A lot of times people think that they can include their rent or their full mortgage, utilities completely as a business write-off. If you live in the home, you cannot. It's supposed to be as a percentage of usage. Now with childcare, you can also do percentage of time that you use your home for childcare versus the percentage of usage. And what I mean by that is if your house is, let's say, 1,000 square feet and your office area or the area that you work in, that's the area that you count. So let's say for simple math, right, that of the 1,000, let's say that 200 square feet is used for business. Well, that's 1/5, right? So you would take that, all of your expenses, and you could deduct 1/5 of those costs. You cannot write them off 100% as long as you live in them. Now, if you have an office outside of your home and you pay the rent, or even a home that you don't live in and you use it for your place of business, then yes, you can write off the rent, the mortgage, the utilities, property taxes, all of that stuff. So be mindful that, like, if you use a Schedule C or you do business use of home is your office deductions, right? So be mindful of that. I see people make that mistake all the time. They think they can write off 100% of their stuff in their home because they have a business in their home. That is not how that works, especially if you use some of it for personal as well. The only thing that could be an example of you using it 100% would be internet, because a lot of us wouldn't even have internet if we didn't need it for streaming or business or whatever, right? So it is deductible. But now, let's say that you're an actor, right? So Comcast cable or just cable internet, you watch shows to kind of perfect and perfect your craft, right? So you can write that off. It's like education for you. So depending on your profession too. So it's one of those, is not what you do, is how you do it, right? So home office deductions can be tricky. It's not a one size fit all. It does depend on your type of business. It does depend on the area of the home that you use for business. And if you're not sure about the size, like a bathroom is about 150 square feet. A child's room is about 300 to 400 square feet. So a bathroom could be anywhere from 50 to 150 square feet. Like in the master bedroom is probably 150 square feet size. So either get a real measuring tape, right, and measure, or just as a guide, just know, like, if you use a bedroom as an office, your bedroom, especially a child-sized bedroom or smaller bedroom, run between like 300 to 500 square feet. Master bedroom would be more than that. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining. Okay, so moving right along. Startup expenses. So people think that because they haven't started their business, that they can't write off those costs that they incurred in order to get the business idea or concept together, right? You can. So from the moment that you start doing your research, um, you register your business, you start doing continuing education to get the business, you start doing licensing, all of those are your startup costs, okay? And all of those are deductible, okay? People think, oh, I don't have a business yet, I can't write that off. Oh, yes, you can. Okay. Even if the business never get off the ground, those were business expenses that you paid out of pocket and you can write them off on your taxes. Okay. You haven't made income. Just because you haven't made income does not mean that you cannot deduct the expenses that you incur for a business, right? So be mindful of that. You can write off those expenses, although you may not have started your business just yet. Okay. So be mindful of that. Business use of your car is really about your mileage. Okay. Swipe right to what? TikTok be doing some crazy stuff. I don't even know what it be doing. But anyway, um, business use of car. Keep track of your miles. Okay. You cannot deduct mileage to and from work. That's called commuting. Okay. But like in my case, I stay at my home office unless I go meet a client. So I do deduct those miles. It wouldn't be no different if I met my client by going to their home or if I'm going to that office, because I don't use it as like my workplace. I use my home as my workplace and I only meet clients at the office. So I do deduct my miles when I go into the office. Otherwise, if you go to work every day and that's your normal course of business, then you cannot deduct those miles. Otherwise, track your miles. A lot of times you will be able to deduct more than actual expenses because it's not often that you got to replace a motor, you got to replace those high price items, right? So if you think about it, mileage every year, the rate kind of changes. It used to be 50 cents, it's like 59 now. And for 2022, it had two different rates because of the gas that had increased so high. So that's their way of accommodating that. Although you deduct miles, you're also able to deduct bridge tolls and parking. So always track tolls and parking separate from your miles, because whether you claim actual expenses or miles, because you can't claim both, right? Actual expenses or miles, you get to deduct tolls and parking regardless. Okay, so be mindful of that. Professional service and subscriptions. If you in business, you should be part of some kind of network that may cost you money. It may be a monthly recurring fee, it may be an annual fee, but you should stay abreast of and continuing education is coming up, but you should stay abreast of changes in your industry, changes that is in your licenses if you have one. So subscribe to memberships, subscriptions, magazines. That's going to help you further your continuing education, okay? Or just enhance your education, stay abreast of changes that's coming up. You really want to do that. And that's kind of coupled with continuing education. That is coming up in these next 7. But be mindful of professional services. Be part of networks to further yourself, to advance yourself in your business. So with that, you could deduct those expenses, okay? Legal and accounting services are professional services. Stop trying to be everything in your business. You cannot invite go live together. No. You cannot do everything on your own and expect to scale. You're not good at everything, period. Okay. Be good at what you're good at, outsource what you're not good at, and do your business a justice instead of a disservice. Okay. Travel expenses. This is tricky because a lot of times when you travel, especially if you go somewhere nice, right, you want to spend time exploring the island and stuff like that. Well, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's a business trip if you conduct business. So every time you go on a trip, always conduct business, whether it's creating a plan, whether it's planning out your quarter, planning out your year, meeting with a client, choose destinations that is going to benefit your business, right? So I have a client that does real estate and they actually travel different locations because they invest, right? So they travel and they write it off because they're researching these destinations to see if it's somewhere that they would want to buy property, right? So be mindful that you can deduct travel expenses. It depends on what you're doing when you travel. Now, let's say you travel for a week and you only work one day. That's not a business trip. Okay. On your business trip, it needs to be majority of, and you can extend and make those 2 days personal. And legally, what you're supposed to do is if your business stop on day 5, but you don't come back to day 7, like your airfare is supposed to be prorated on based on what the airfare would have been on day 5 versus day 7. A lot of times those extra days give you a discount. So, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So always conduct business when you go on a trip, and then it becomes a business trip. Bad debt and waste. People forget about that. Okay. If you have a client that didn't pay for a product, or they returned something, or it was broken in, in transit, things like that, write that stuff off. It is not just a loss. It is a loss, but it's a loss that you write off. Okay. So that it reduces your taxable income because you got paid for it. Now, if you got to replace it, of course, you only got paid once for products twice. So you want to be able to deduct the waste, right? So waste is mostly used in like restaurants and stuff like that. But you want to deduct whatever you did not actually get paid for and can get paid for, right? Okay. So if something spoil, if something spill, some break, all of those type of things you can write off. And if you have a client or customer that has not paid, you're able to write off that debt as bad debt. Now, if the client do come back and pay you, you need to re-recognize that revenue. Okay, so be mindful of that as well. Now, the continuing education, as stated, always invest in you and your business, in your craft. Okay, because continuing education helps you stay in the game. Period. I don't know nobody that has been in business for 30 years that have not had continuing education, or even 5 years, or even 1 year, right? You have to learn what works and what don't work, right? And you learn that by educating yourself, right? It doesn't have to cost you though. Now, if it does cost you, write it off. It's a business expense, right? But you could get education without having to go to a formal college or without having to get a formal degree, right? Attending webinars and attending challenges if they cost. So, by the way, I have a challenge coming up. Business Finances Mastery. You can register there. Is next week, the October 16th through the 20th. So Monday through Friday, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am putting it in the chat on which we'll post to Facebook, Instagram, but it's www.businessfinances with an S mastery.com. Call you back, lady. Uh-oh. I said I'll call you back, lady. Okay. So businessfinancesmastery.com. Register. It starts next week. This is a free challenge. It is education for you. Okay. So anything you do with us is considered continuing education, whether you pay for it or not. Otherwise, it's professional services. So you get to write off any and everything that you do with us because we are educators. Okay. And we provide done for you services. Home internet and phone expenses. So, like I was saying earlier on the home office deduction, a lot of us wouldn't even have internet if we didn't need it for business. I know I wouldn't, right? I wouldn't have a home phone either, but I need it for my fax machine. So I didn't need them for business. So Facebook, I know you blinked, but you guys are back, so I'm gonna keep going. Um, be mindful though, anything that can be used personally as well, even in your home office space, if you use it as as your playroom too, and it's your office, then the IRS or you're in an audit, they can say, no, that's not what this is. This is a multi-purpose room. It is not your office, and they can discredit the size, they can discredit the deductions altogether. So be mindful of what you deduct and how you deduct it. Again, this is one of those things. Home internet and phone expenses, more than likely you can deduct 100% for business. But if your line of business don't use internet, then it can't be 100% deducted. It would be part of that percentage that I was talking about for business use of home. Okay. Retirement contributions. So if you contribute to a 401k, to insurance, because now people are using life insurance for a retirement plan, right? In your business, you could get what's called key man insurance and have the business pay for it. Okay. Um, your business would be the beneficiary, but whoever is your beneficiary of your estate get all of it anyway, right? So it would not be a taxable event to the business or to your personal or person beneficiary, but use retirement as a deduction in business. Now, it does matter what type of business structure you are. So a lot of people jumped on the LLC bandwagon, not knowing there is no tax benefit whatsoever to being an LLC. You're the same as a sole prop. You just protect yourself from personal liability. Okay, meaning somebody can't sue you for your personal assets. So be mindful of that as well. Okay, but you can deduct contributions to like a 401k is pre-tax, right? Or a traditional IRA is pre-tax. Otherwise, it's post-tax anyway. You're not getting a tax savings, but you can write it off. It can be a deduction for the business, especially as an S corp is actually part of the tax strategies for S corps. Okay. And then charitable donations. You can write off charitable donations. And charitable donations does not always have to be monetary. Okay. If you normally charge, so I'm going to give myself as an example. My nonprofit, Beat the Streets, Inc., in Antioch, California, we provide resources to young adults 11 to 29 around education, employment, and life skills. So when I hold a entrepreneurship workshop for them, right? Because that's something that I get paid to do is speak in front of groups and hold workshops, then I can write off the piece that I donate to them because I would have made money on that. But because I'm not charging them, I get to write it off as a contribution. Same thing with your miles. You can write off the miles you do on behalf of running around for the church, right? They're nonprofit. You can write off those miles. It only matters if you itemize, really. Okay. Charitable deductions is on your standard deduction. However, as a business, you get to write those off as well. Okay. So be mindful of these 10 overlooked deductions by small business owners. Again, it's the home office deduction, it's the startup expenses, it's the business use of your car, professional services and subscriptions, travel expenses, bad debt or waste, continuing education, home internet and phone expenses, retirement contributions, and charitable donations. I never even introduced myself. I am Tracy L. Tate. I am the CEO of TLJ Professional Services, where we are about all things financial. That's what my shirt is talking about. All things financial, about all things financial. We provide bookkeeping, accounting, tax preparation, tax planning for small business owners as well as individuals. And I hold a master's in business, a master's in accounting, as well as a master's in public administration. And this is why you should listen to me. I am IRS PTIN as well as California State. You can't even submit a electronic filing in the state of California without being CTEC certified. So this has been my Tax Tip Tuesday. Happy Tax Tip Tuesday. I said I wasn't going to stay long, but once I get to talking and educating and training, and I just get right on into it. But I got to get back to the taxes because that deadline is on Monday. Okay. Get your taxes done. If you're afraid of the IRS, don't be. Hire a professional like us to get your life right, get your taxes straight, and keep more money in your pocket by not missing these deductions. Okay. You don't know what you don't know. So, outsource it so you can benefit from it. It has been my honor and my pleasure to provide this Tax Tip Tuesday. So with that, I leave you. Have a blessed rest of the week. And I will see you again next week on Tax Tip Tuesday. Be blessed. Now, how do I end this? Maybe this. In there. Yep. Yay. 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 Tax Tip Tuesday. I'm trying to record on both TikTok and StreamYard, which goes to my Facebook, my YouTube,